And yet two people living completely different lives. One of them gets a $1,400 car repair bill, taps his card, goes back to his coffee, does not flinch. The other one gets the exact same bill, reads it 3 times, stomach drops, opens his banking app trying to figure out which payment he can push to next month. Same income, same bill. Two completely different humans. And what separates them is not discipline, not luck, not even the salary. It is one number that almost nobody ever talks about: net worth. My name is Jack, and I have spent way too much time figuring out why two people with identical paychecks. Hit subscribe, because today I am going to show you the 3 net worth levels where your entire experience of money changes completely. And I will warn you now, the 3rd level does something to people that almost nobody sees coming. Some people reach it and are still miserable. And there is a very specific reason why. We will get there. But the 1st level is closer than you think. Let us start at the beginning. Here's the frame that makes everything click. We are obsessed with income. How much do you make? What is the salary? What is the raise? But income is just water flowing through your hands. Net worth is what is actually left in the bucket after it flows through. And that bucket has 3 lines painted on the inside. 3 levels, where once you cross them, the water starts behaving differently. Level 1, $100,000. I know, for some of you that number feels impossibly far away. For others it feels almost insultingly small. Stay with me, because this is the most important threshold in the entire video. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's business partner, a man worth billions, was once asked about building wealth, and his answer has been repeated for a reason. He said, "The first $100,000 is the hardest, but you have got to do it. Find a way. Because after that, everything changes." Why would a billionaire fixate on a number that to him was a rounding error? Because the first 100,000 is the only stretch of the entire journey where you do almost all the work yourself. Here is the math. Saving and investing $10,000 per year at 7% return. Getting from 0 to your first 100,000 takes roughly 7 to 8 years. During those years, the market is barely helping you. Almost every dollar in that account is a dollar you personally earned, saved, and refused to spend. It is a slog. It feels slow because it is slow. But watch what happens next. Going from 100,000 to 200,000 does not take another 8 years. It takes about 5. From 200 to 300,000. Under 4 years. And going from 500,000 to a full million takes about the same amount of time it took you to build that very first 100,000. Except now, your money is generating 10 times the wealth in that same window. Same effort, same patience. Completely different output. Why? Because at 100,000 invested at 7%, your portfolio throws off about $7,000 per year on its own. While you sleep, while you work, while you do anything else. You spent years pushing the snowball uphill. And at 100,000 it crests the top and starts rolling down the other side by itself. But here is the part most people never talk about. The real magic of 100,000 is not the math. It is what it does to your brain. Here's a study that completely changed how I think about money. Researchers asked regular people to imagine a car repair. For half the group, the repair cost $150. For the other half, it was $1,500. Then they had everyone take a standard problem-solving test. The wealthier participants. No difference between the two groups. But the lower-income participants who had to imagine the $1,500 repair scored dramatically worse. About a full standard deviation lower. Same people, same brains. The only thing that changed was 30 seconds of worrying about money they did not have. The researchers described that effect as comparable to losing a full night of sleep. Think about that. Going through your entire life. And it is more common than most people realize. Nearly 30% of adults cannot handle a surprise $500 expense using cash or savings alone. That is not a discipline problem. That is a cushion problem. $100,000 buys you out of that. Not into a yacht, not into a luxury lifestyle, into quiet, into a brain that is no longer humming with low-grade financial static. That is level 1. It is not about getting rich. It is about getting your mind back. Level 2. $500,000 to $1 million. Okay, the static is gone. Now what? Now you enter the strangest stretch of the entire journey. And the reason it is strange is that for the first time, the most productive worker in your household might not be a person. At $500,000 invested at 7%, your portfolio generates around $35,000 per year. On its own. For context, that is roughly what the average person earns from a full-time job. Your money now has a job, and it does not call in sick. It does not ask for a raise. It does not hate Mondays. At a full $1 million, that same 7% throws off about $70,000 per year. More than the average individual earns working full-time. Read that again. At $1 million invested, your money out-earns a full-time salary. While you sleep, while you are on holiday, while you are doing literally anything else. This is the level where the phrase work optional stops being a fantasy and starts being something you can actually see on the horizon. You are not there yet, but you can see it. And seeing it changes everything about how you carry yourself. Here is how level 2 actually feels in real life. It is the meeting where your boss says something genuinely unreasonable, and instead of swallowing it, you realize calmly, almost surprised by yourself, that you could walk. You will not today, but you could. That single internal shift, knowing you have a real choice, quietly changes how you negotiate, what you tolerate, and how much of your self-respect you are willing to trade for a paycheck. It also shows up in smaller ways, not checking the price of every item before it goes in the basket, booking the direct flight instead of 2 layovers to save $60. The dishwasher breaks. The crisis lasts about 4 minutes. You buy a replacement. It is done. None of these are luxuries. They are just friction being quietly removed from your life one decision at a time. But level 2 has a trap hiding inside it. And the trap is called lifestyle inflation. Every time your income goes up, there is a gravitational pull to let your spending drift up right behind it. You get the raise, you get the nicer car, and within about a year, the nicer car just feels like your car. The thrill evaporates, but the payment stays, so you upgrade again, chasing a feeling that keeps resetting to zero. This is how people earning $300,000 a year still end up financially stuck. Their money never gets the chance to compound, because every dollar gets drafted into a bigger mortgage, a leased car, and a lifestyle that quietly eats the future to feed the present. Level 2 is not about earning more. It is about having the discipline to let the gap between what you make and what you spend stay open long enough for compounding to work. Notice the pattern forming. Level 1 did not add a luxury. It subtracted a fear, the fear of the emergency. Level 2 subtracts another fear, the fear of being trapped by a single employer. Each level you climb is not about adding things to your life. It is about removing fears from it. Keep that in mind, because level 3 removes the biggest fear of all. Level 3, $2.5 to $5 million. There is a concept in finance sometimes called FU money. Not the most polished term, but the meaning is precise. It is a specific number. Put somewhere safe. That means no person, no employer, no bank can make you do anything you genuinely do not want to do. And that number is built on one of the most tested ideas in all of personal finance, the 4% rule. Researchers tested decades of market history to answer one question: how much can you withdraw from a portfolio every year without ever running out of money? The answer they kept landing on was around 4%, which gives us a beautifully simple formula. Whatever you spend in a year, multiply by 25. That is your number. If your life costs $40,000 per year, your number is 1 million. If you spend 80,000, it is 2 million. If you want to live on 100,000 per year without ever working again, you need approximately $2.5 million. At 5 million, you can support a $175,000 to $200,000 lifestyle entirely from returns alone. And here is the uncomfortable truth about reaching this level. Most people assume that once the math finally works, the meaning will show up automatically. It does not. Here's the research that explains why. For years, the accepted wisdom was that happiness flatlines at around $100,000 per year in income. That past that point, more money simply stops moving the needle. Then a researcher tracked over 1 million real-time mood reports from thousands of people and found that was not true at all. Happiness kept rising with income, with no ceiling visible. So who was right? Both of them, for different people. For roughly 80% of people who are already reasonably content, more money really does keep buying more happiness all the way up. But for the unhappy 20%, money relieves their suffering up to around $100,000 per year. And then it stops, because their unhappiness was never really about money in the first place. And no amount of net worth can buy your way out of a problem that money did not cause. That is the secret hiding inside level 3. The people who reach it and stay miserable are the ones who thought the number itself was the destination. The people who reach it and finally feel free are the ones who use the number to buy the only thing money can actually purchase that truly matters: control over their own time, waking up without an alarm, saying yes to the people they love and no to the work they do not want, being present for the moments they used to miss. Level 1 bought back a quiet mind. Level 2 bought back options. Level 3 buys back your one finite non-renewable resource, the actual hours of your life, from anyone who used to own them. That is the whole game. Now, if you are thinking, Jack, I am not even at level 1 yet. This feels impossible. Stop. Hear this clearly. The fact that these levels are rare is not a reason to feel behind. It is the entire reason they are worth chasing. And the most important thing I can tell you is this: the hardest, slowest, most thankless stretch of this entire journey is the climb to that first 100,000. The part where it is almost entirely you, and the market is barely helping. Almost everyone who quits right there in the slog, right before the snowball crests the hill. If you can just outlast the boring part, the math stops working against you and starts working for you. You do not have to get smarter. You just have to get stubborn. 2 people, same salary, same paycheck, same Friday. One of them crossed a line you cannot see on a payslip. And that invisible line is the entire difference between reading a repair bill 3 times with a sinking stomach and tapping a card without flinching. That line is net worth, and you already know which side you want to be on. If this changed how you think about the number in your account, hit subscribe. New video every week, and one question for the comments. Which level are you climbing toward right now? Drop it below. Because knowing where you are going is the first step to actually getting there.